video is swearing, so click off if you're 5. The Burger King fucking just shit like. Does the production crew let you do anything on your own? We're gonna like, fuck off. Fuck. No, this isn't Burger Brawl. Fucking ass. Fucking. Shut the fuck up. Fuck. Shit. Fucking jackass. God damn. Oh, and by the way, Sue, if you're reading this, or fucking. Fuck. Fucking piss coffee cup off and now I dick. Fuck off. Fuck. Shit. Fuck. Suck my dick. Fucking shit. Oh, fuck this shit's fucking slut. Bull. Oh, fuck. Shit. Fuck. Shit. I wanna cut off my legs.
Oh boy, I bet you're giggling out of your seats right now after watching all that. Oh, what's that? You're not? Oh, okay. Well, I'd appreciate it if you did. It took me like 30 minutes. I mean, it's longer than the actual time it took me to write the jokes in MOCHA 1. That's 8 minutes, by the way. Someone managed to fit 40 swears into 8 minutes. MOCHA is an animated object show series on YouTube created by me, Stu Suggs. That's me. It features a cast of 9 characters all competing for a grand prize. One contestant eliminated each episode until it reaches the end. You know, the usual. MOCHA is the second season of another show I made years prior called Toffee. Don't watch it, please. The cast consists of the host, coffee cup, and the contestants Ember, fries, lead, marble, sharpeners, stew, handbill, hat, and toast. The first episode of MOCHA was released on November 24th, 2022, so I was 12 years old. And if I've learned anything from writing episodes this long, it's that if 14-year-old me sucks at writing episodes, then I don't know how 12-year-old me learned how to breathe. That joke sucks. I don't know if I'm keeping that. No, whatever. In this video, I'm going to be going over my biggest criticisms with the season's first episode, MOCHA 1, I'm Sorry Gary. I'm sorry redacted. I'm sorry Bubby. Off topic, I find it so embarrassing this episode's one of my most viewed videos on my channel because Gary's name was in the title. There were probably a couple hundred people just trying to look up his channel and found mine instead. I would say I'm sorry, but I think the title says it enough times. On topic, in my opinion, I think that MOCHA 1 is what's the word?
Shit.
Thank you. Yes, I like that one. I'll save that for later. What I'm going to be going over in this video are the changes, the characters, and the comedy. So, without further ado, this is a look back at MOCHA 1. Insert Vivziepop joke here. I might change that title.
God damn it.
When beginning a new season of a new show, the first thing I think most people would expect is how the world and the characters in that world have transformed since we last saw them. Actually, it's kind of ironic I called this section the changes, because there's none at all! This episode is not only a bad transition between the ending of Toffee and the start of MOCHA, but the start of MOCHA and the current of MOCHA. There's not even any sort of introduction to MOCHA. The episode starts with Coffee Cup coming back. There's not any type of scene where you just get to see the contestants hanging out, seeing how their lives have changed since the end of Toffee, and just getting to breathe. It just jumps straight back into the contest. It's such a shame, too, because in this episode's defense, Toffee 12 kind of set up this episode to have a shit start no matter what. Toffee 12 explicitly, I guess not explicitly, but it's very clear there's a tonal shift in the entire series. That episode doesn't take itself seriously at all. There's barely any stakes throughout the entire challenge. It's silly, there's sound effects, there's Mario references, there's abrupt explosions. And after everything, when Led wins his grand prize, the episode ends like this.
Are you
Wonderful. Nothing's explained from what happened between the two seasons. It's not even explained what Led did with his prize after the finale, which I feel like is kind of the bare minimum for information, but whatever. So the resolution of Toffee is missing, and the exposition of MOCHA is missing, meaning there's a massive gap in between seasons. Almost as if the writer intentionally did it like that because there's something significant that happened between seasons that he doesn't want the viewer to know about yet. There's nothing important there. I was just feeling stupid and lazy, and I didn't want to write an ending. What even is a conclusion paragraph? Just stop reading. The transition from Toffee 12 to MOCHA 1 is like when you close your eyes. Nothing changes at all. They feel like the same episode, and I mean that as an insult. The voice acting, assets, animation, tone, writing style, jokes, it's all the same. MOCHA 1 is brash, fast, wacky, silly, crude, heavy quotations on the crude. Toffee 12 is brash, fast, wacky, silly. All of it is the same. I cloned an episode. I think I'm dragging it, so I'll just say it. My main point is this. MOCHA 1 doesn't feel like an episode 1, or even a season 2. It feels like a Toffee 13 in the wrong way. You'd think a transition where nothing changes would be good. It'd feel seamless and natural, and I'd agree. But in this case, I think it actively hurts the episode, because in a new season, you're expecting changes. So when none are there, it feels lackluster and kind of just blends together. Shoo, you sound like an angry Redditor. Who cares about the time skip between seasons? As long as Mocha's consistent within itself, that's all that should matter if you're watching only Mocha anyway. So that's my next point. In the opposite direction, the difference between Mocha 1 and Mocha 6 is jarring, to say the least. 6, the most recent episode, is much more dramatic than 1. It sets up multiple character arcs for the remaining cast, Chandelier comes back to the surface with a vengeance, and a lot of the eliminated contestants have a more prominent role than they've had since Toffee. The tone of that episode is a lot more serious and focuses a lot on the characters' inner conflicts. But because of that, Mocha 1 actively hurts Mocha 6 by establishing the tone early on as nonsensical and goofy. So when it does actually try to take itself seriously later on, all I can think of is those "these are the same show, by the way" videos. And I don't want this to be a stain on my legacy. I genuinely think of Mocha 1 as an entirely separate show, even to Mocha 2, which is its second closest relative, just because of how different the tone is between it and 6. I don't mean that, like, literally, by the way. I view Mocha 1 as part of Mocha, but still, the stain on my legacy. Oh, wow, shoot, a legacy? That's pretty egocentric. Hey, how many votes did Marble get eliminated with again? I think I've made my point. In conclusion, Mocha 1 fails as an introduction between seasons by not changing enough from Toffee, but it also fails in comparison to the rest of the season by clashing in tone, which causes later episodes to suffer as a result. Mocha 6 is an entirely character-driven episode. Its main purpose is to build arcs and develop upon existing ones. Speaking of those guys...
Why do you talk to your hand like some sort of mutated dog?
I think I have a cold now. The problem with the characters is the same as the transition between the seasons. They're the same. They're all the same. It's just...
Shit.
Most shows contain a cast of characters. If they didn't, that would be really boring. Most shows contain a cast of characters, each of them having distinct personalities, unique character traits, relationships and dynamics within the cast, ways to differentiate certain characters from others, and at the very least being able to gauge a general idea of what each character is like. Mocha doesn't do this with its characters. To illustrate my point, why don't we take a look at some of them? In this episode, Hat is characterized as being wacky, unfiltered, stupid, gluttonous, a little aggressive, and a punching bag, being the weird one. Okay. Coffee Cup is characterized as pessimistic, unreactive, superior, and acts as the straight man to the rest of the cast, being the normal one. Ember is cool with everyone, quiet, and acts as the straight man to the rest of the cast, being the normal one. Fries is mean, a bully, and acts as the straight man to the rest of the cast. Sharpener is a nerd, and acts as the straight man to the rest of the cast. Lead is Marble. I think you get the point. Every character except Hat has the personality trait of the straight man tacked onto them. They're the normal one. In case it wasn't obvious, this gets really fucking repetitive when it's on every character. I think I just did this as a poor excuse to quote-unquote give each character a personality to, like, cross that off the checklist. Because, to be fair, this is a really easy personality to write for. All you need to do is make the weird character say a weird thing, and then the normal character goes, what? And you have won this game! I did it! But as a result of this, it just makes every scene immediately stale, and feel like you're watching the same 3 characters in the same gray trunk for 8 minutes. Even though it's actually 9 characters and different gray trunks. Ooh. In Mocha 1's defense, again, this is not an isolated issue to just this episode. This was a big problem in Toffee, and as much as I tried to fix this in Mocha 2, it's still very prevalent. And also, yeah, having a lot of your characters have a somewhat normal side to them is generally fine. Total Drama does it well. A lot of the main characters have at least some sense of being just a regular teenager, except, like, Izzy, but that's kind of the point. But I think what makes it work better in that show and not in Mocha is that Total Drama is fairly grounded and feels very realistic. Meanwhile, Mocha is an object show for babies and not people. I think the main reason I wrote all the characters like this, not just because it's an easy personality to write for, was because I thought it would be funny. Not like sabotaging my entire cast is funny. I mean, like, thinking this character dynamic would actually work properly. The character dynamic of straight man versus jackass does work, but like rabbits, It doesn't work when you repeat it a billion times. Does that joke work? That looks a lot better written down. I was trying to go for a GGG, but I ended up with a battle for circle. And that show is satire? What do you mean satire is about reflecting and exaggerating issues to criticize them? No, I think it just means being funny, stupid, dumb baby juice. That line, by the way, is one of my least favorite things I've ever written in Toffee, just because it uses its satire as an excuse for the show to be mindless slop. And it's not even correct. That's not the definition of satire. Satire isn't turning yourself into a fucking joke show. I was being hyperbolic before. Yes, the characters do have other traits, of course. Fries is the bully, Marble's the snarky one, Ember is the chill guy. But okay, the season 1 contestants have had a full season already to shape their personalities and make it clear what they act like. MOCHA 1 doesn't have to set up these guys or change anything about them, because that's just how they've naturally developed to be like up to this point. Plus, it's not like any of them really act out of character. But even looking past that, MOCHA 1 still struggles with its characters. And this time it's actually Mocha's fault. It's not Toffee's fault this time. After the original 13 gets split in order to make room for season 2, Coffee Cup introduces 3 new characters: Hat, Bill, and Toast. You'd think I'd at least have interesting ideas when coming up with them, or even just a general description in mind. And it should be easy considering I only had to make 3 characters instead of a full cast. You'd think wrong, stupid idiot. I'll start with Hat because I have the least problems with him. In this episode, Hat is characterized as being a big eater, exaggerated, having no filter, hot-headed, and a little goofy. He has a lot of lines through the whole episode, especially during the challenge part, where he actually kind of overshadows Ember and Led, at least in my opinion. As for what he actually does, not much. He kind of just gets tied up and then tells Led to suck his dick, and then his team breaks out and they win. Still though, I think he is characterized really well in this episode, actually. If I have to complain about anything with how he is, I do think he is kind of heavily relied on for a lot of the jokes. Hat says a lot of rude things to people, you know, the stray man versus jackass dynamic, that's how it works. And I do think it actually works in this instance, because Led and Ember also kind of bully him, and I think that's a little funny. But I also feel like it's definitely the most engaging part of the episode, because everything else is pretty boring. But yeah, that's about it I had to say for Hat. He's like the only contestant characterized well here, and I don't really have that many complaints. He's distinct from the rest of the cast, and his personality is actually engaging. Yeah, so let's move on to Bill now. The rough character description I had for Bill when writing the script was similar to Ember, very chill with people, makes friends easily, normal one, which is pretty fucking boring and basic, but I guess it's something. Better than nothing.
Oh, he has a disembodied hand as a sidekick. I'm sure that'll gain him some bonus points in the cool OC department.
I don't know what voice that was. Bill in this episode is already basically pushed to the sidelines, and it doesn't help he's surrounded by Stu and Sharpener during the challenge, 2 characters whose straight man trait overpowered their normal trait. What I mean by that is Fries, for example, acts like the normal one at times, but she's still a bully and mean first. This doesn't apply to Sharpener and Stu. In this episode, I should clarify, in this episode. And as a result, he kind of just blends in with both of them since he's so similar. So, Bill in MOCHA 1 is forgettable. He does the most for his team, which at least that's some good screen time for the newbie, but he doesn't really stick out compared to the whole cast. He kills himself, throws a ball at Teacup, and almost wins for his team. And then Sharpener, that fat ass, doesn't get out of the trunk. He still wins immunity because of newbie bias, which looking back feels kind of forced, but whatever, sure. So he does do things in the episode, which is good. It's just the problem is that it's not that much compared to the other teams, which have either constant bickering caused by Fries or Hat, or at least like some actual sort of progress that's mostly shown on screen. Both of which are a lot more interesting than what goes on in Bill's team. I think MOCHA 1 just doesn't do a great job of differentiating Bill from the rest of the main cast, considering his initial premise was already really similar, but I wouldn't say he's done terribly. On the other hand, Toast I genuinely had no plans for whatsoever. I'm not even being hyperbolic about that. I didn't know what to do with Toast. They were a completely blank slate. When each newbie takes turns saying an opening line to introduce their character, At freaks out in a very crude way. Bill says a stupid line I'm not repeating, but it shows his fairly calm demeanor, and Toast... Okay, Jesus Christ. Toast not having a personality for the first 3 episodes of MOCHA makes them blend into the background and immediately causes them to be uninteresting and forgettable from the get-go.
It's actually kind of impressive to be forgettable in a cast best of 9.
While Marble and Fries are arguing throughout the entire challenge, Toast either just sits in the background and watches it happen, or occasionally butts in with a line that anybody could have said. I think through the whole challenge portion, they only have 3 lines. That's pathetic. And the worst part is I was actively aware this was a problem during writing the episode. I was scraping away to give something, anything to Toast, and the best thing I could come up with was movie critic. Just because their pose in the intro had 3D glasses? That's the whole reason the scene with the shitty Garfield joke exists. It's because I wanted to establish Toast is a big movie snob as their personality. And that's immediately dropped. It's never brought up again. I don't blame you if you went, wait, that was a part of their personality just now. So without anything to give them really, I kind of just resorted back to default, which was making Toast yet another boring fucking straight man character. Yes! But it's worse because that was their only trait for a while. At least everyone else had other traits. At least Sharpener had the bonus of being Coffee Cup's wife. So to sum up, Toast is just kind of nothing in this episode, and that's a pretty big problem. Off topic. I remember when writing MOCHA 6, I realized how much of a missed opportunity it was to not make Toast a contestant who cared about keeping up their winning streak and being overly competitive in MOCHA 1, being the motivation why they do the things they do. I remember later, I kind of thought that was a dumb idea, because then it would have just made Toast either seem like a giant nerd or too dramatic, but I don't know, what do you think? Would that have made them better? I don't know, probably better than what I actually did. Oh, and I also wanted to butt in with this short segment. Led in this episode is fairly different from how he is in later episodes. He's a lot more silly, and he jokes around more. He's smiling! He never does that in MOCHA 6. I don't actually think this is a bad thing, though. I actually think this is kind of a sin for MOCHA 6. I finally gave Led something else to do, and make him lighten up more, since Toffee, he was just really fucking grumpy all the time. And then he ended up just getting flanderized back. That's not a bad thing, that's just something I wanted to point out, because he's also like that in Toffee 12, because that episode changed him a lot. On topic. In conclusion, I don't think MOCHA 1 does a good job at handling its cast. The newbies are all underdeveloped and fade into the background, not having enough to differentiate themselves or even seem like necessary additions, really. The veterans are all incredibly similar to each other, each having the same basic character trait tacked onto them, which sucks, because their main personalities actually are distinct, but get watered down. It causes the cast as a whole to melt into this big mixing pot of gray sludge. It's not particularly interesting, everyone feels the same, and the point of them having the straight man trait suffers because of the quantity of characters I gave it to. If there's anything to take away from this section, I think this old video from before MOCHA 1 sums everything up pretty well.
Hey y'all, what's up my epic swiggity swoogity PogChamp gamers? Fuck you.
I remember the idea behind that video was that these characters being so similar is actually a good thing, and it's funny. No.
Okay, have fun, you fucking stereotypes.
They're not even stereotypes, man. I would have taken that. They're nothing. It's worse. They're nothing. And one last thing I wanted to bring up, considering it's still character related, is the cast itself. The cast chosen for MOCHA cut part of the Toffee cast, with the idea being that the ones that were chosen were the well-written characters, and everyone else who was rejected was actually straight doo-doo feces. I could not have been more wrong. I genuinely think a lot of the rejects are way more interesting and unique than the official cast I ended up picking. Bro, Dodgeball is so fun to write for. He's literally the worst possible human being you could ever meet. He's kind of like OJ from Object Invasion. Love Among Us. In MOCHA 6, my favorite parts are when he's on screen. That's a lie. But I did have a lot of fun animating those scenes, and he's not even in MOCHA. Star had potential. There were a lot of different paths I could have made her character go. Roll would have been entertaining to watch and laugh at, just like Dodgeball. Book? Okay, not Book. Arranger, again, I think he had potential to be a funny character. Cup could have maybe just been a punching bag, but still it's something. Taco was kind of fucked at the end of Toffee, but I think had he been written in the right way, like how he was in MOCHA 6, nudge nudge, it could have worked. But I rejected all these characters because I thought they would muddle up the cast with characters I wouldn't enjoy writing. I don't fucking enjoy writing Fries and Marble and Sharpener all making the exact same joke for 8 minutes. Even if these characters ended up being handled poorly, I still think at least it would have given more variety to the MOCHA cast. The big issue I had was they all melted together, but the characters with more distinct and sillier personalities to counter the straight man ones would have just made a better MOCHA 1, I think. Also, if your takeaway from this section is that I hate the current MOCHA cast and I want to restart just so I can add Dodgeball, you're wrong. Don't have that as your takeaway. I know what you're gonna say. A lot of the rejects, to be fair, were rejected mainly because they were handled poorly in Toffee. I either made a lot of them fade into the background, or didn't give them enough screen time, or purposefully sabotaged their characters, or made their stories try too hard to be serious. A lot of them were that last one. Roll, Dodgeball, Book, Taco, and Cup come to mind to characters that had the potential to work if I realize they're better when you're not supposed to be rooting for them. I don't really know how to end this segment. Fuck is the conclusion paragraph. Just stop reading. Oh my god, I've been doing characters for 13 minutes? Okay, we're moving on.
No, it means that you can fuck off.
A counterpoint to this entire video is Shu. Why care about any of this? MOCHA 1 is edging a joke show. Its main goal is to be funny. You don't need to take it seriously, and you can just disregard all of its flaws. It's not intended to be taken seriously, so why bother fussing over little details? To that, I say edging! And also, that's not a very good counterpoint, because you're just saying it's satire, so it's immune to criticism.
That's not what fucking satire is, Shu. Did you know that? Hey, did you know that?
But you know what? Yeah, okay, sure. You're right. MOCHA 1 is just supposed to be funny. Oh, what jokes does it tell again?
Who gives a shit? Wait a minute, this isn't Burger Brawl. Shut the fuck up.
So we have swearing, Burger Brawl references, sound effects, insults, Toast saying the words Garfield, A Tale of Two Kitties, and then the occasional cutaway gag.
Yes, I hope my mom sees this.
Wow, these are just... They're just...
abysmal dog shit.
I'll say it now so I don't have to later. Yes, what makes you laugh is subjective, and if you like the jokes of this episode, good for you. But I don't. I made them. Sorry. I remember one time I had Choreo and Bonnie watch MOCHA 1 in a voice call, and it was so quiet I could hear crickets dropping needles. I wanted to die. There was not a single hint of a chuckle. If you guys are watching this, sorry. The prize of the show is a fucking Rick Astley amiibo. You can hear my fingernails chipping away at the bottom of a barrel. If it isn't obvious by now, MOCHA 1 was heavily inspired by Burger Brawl, a joke show made in 2020 by Gary. I'm pretty sure at least half of the comments under MOCHA 1 compare it to Burger Brawl, which is a fair comparison to make. I'm not going to deny that. I have eyes. It tells a lot of the same jokes and even the style is somewhat inspired by it. That's why the tone of the episode is like that. That's why a bunch of random images are added. That's why there's a lot more sound effects. That's also why the episode is just generally more mean-spirited than some of the other ones. It kind of feels like a Troc entry. I don't know if that's a good thing. The comedy shown in MOCHA 1 is incredibly weak and repetitive, which is a bad thing considering it's a comedy-focused episode. 12-year-olds aren't funny, I know that much. A lot of its jokes tend to hinge off of things Burger Brawl does and poorly imitates them, and if it's not doing that, then it's saying bad words for the sake of it. In the intro, as you saw, there's 40 swears in the first episode, so divide that by the episode's runtime of 8 minutes, that's 5 per minute. There's 44 in Has Been Hotel 1, and that episode is 23 minutes, so that's about 2 per minute. How did I beat Vivziepop? That's not fair. I think it's 23 minutes. I didn't check that thoroughly, actually. But yeah, bad sign if your swears are more frequent than the show this video is fucking titled after.
I don't fucking want this.
So, why are there so many? Is it because only certain characters are vulgar and just happen to get more screen time, artificially inflating the numbers? No, just about everyone says bad words equally. Was it just because I finally could put swears in after holding myself back during Toffee? Maybe it could be that one, but I don't think that's the main reason. Was it even just because the big BB said bad words, so I said bad words? It's likely, that would make sense. I don't actually remember if that specifically was the reason. But I think the most obvious explanation is simply, I thought swearing was funny. When spaced out and timed correctly, like all jokes, swearing can be funny. It's not that swearing is an inherently unfunny thing, but, you know, how 12-year-olds are.
putting 5 swears every minute.
The thought process was simple. I thought swearing was funny, ergo the more swears I put in my episode, the more funny the episode is. It has to be. That's the multiplication property of equality. I think at the time of writing as well, consuming so much Burger Brawl content kind of naturally influenced me to put in more swears during my writing process, just because that was what my mind was full of. I was being fed so much bad word content that I regurgitated it onto a Google Doc and animated it. I at least know this one was true, because in an old draft of MOCHA 2, I found this, and I know this one wasn't written very long after MOCHA 1. It's giving...
Why don't you keep fucking yourself, you big asshole?
Swearing in this episode is used as a substitute for actual jokes, but as a result, it just makes the dialogue drag on and feel unnatural at times. Like, why is everyone so mean to each other? You guys just met. And also, the fact it's so repetitive makes the joke old, and you get it in like a minute because you've heard 5 swears. The repetitiveness of the curses is, in my opinion, the biggest flaw of MOCHA 1. It's just so in your face and desperate to make you laugh, but if anything, it just makes the writing worse, because it feels like I'm watching one of those Sacti films edits.
Fucking happen if this poor fuck got fucking sucked into a goddamn fucking...
Semi-related still, I don't know if anyone would actually consider these jokes, but I can't think of where else I'd put them. There's a lot of Burger Brawl references in this episode. I don't think any of these are really funny, but I feel like that's not even the intention? Question mark? I don't know. Coffee Cup says Burger King, and Bill says this isn't Burger Brawl. So I guess I was just trying to be self-aware, but it still leaves a pretty bad taste in my mouth. Next, I'm going back to the straight man versus jackass interactions. I know I just finished doing the character sections, but it still applies here. The jackass in this episode can mostly be pinned down to just Hat, and maybe Fries, but that's a bit of a stretch. When there is a jackass present, I think it actually does work. In this case, Hat, Led, and Ember all kind of play as being both the jackass and the straight man, though it's mostly Hat as the jackass still. But again, in my opinion, the most engaging section of the episode is when these guys are on screen. But if there's not a jackass, then we're just left with a straight man. And 8 straight men is 2/3 of a homophobic jury. The other 2 teams are really boring, all things considered. You could argue Fry's a jackass, and she's the one who's aggressive and stirs up shit. But I don't know. I think the banter between Fries and Marble is still just particularly tame. Fries is really violent in this episode, so there's slapstick potential, but her dialogue kind of sucks. When her lines consist of, and a pretty coffee cup move for her to tie us up too, and fuck this shit, and who gives a shit opened the trunk door already, it sucks. I wouldn't call her a jackass, and even if I did, she's still not that entertaining or funny this episode. The other team, Bill, Stu, and Sharpener, though, is actually just so boring. They all feel so white? Can I say that? I don't think I can say that. They don't have any interesting dynamics. There's no arguing or funny lines. They kind of just do the challenge and don't talk, and it's really uninteresting.
Milk toast. I need better vocab.
I just realized, how does Han get shot if Teacup's unconscious? Who's shooting that trank dart? It's not like there's anyone else in the car. Boy, I hope someone got fired for that blunder. I'm going off topic. I forgot this is supposed to be about the straight man trait. There's gotta be a better word I can use. I don't want to repeat that same phrase all video. What I'm getting at is that in the team it does work in, it's because there's a sense of banter and arguing that's engaging to watch. But the majority of the cast doesn't have that. And because of that, then like half the episode is just taken up by 6 normal people in a room just talking. And it's not even repetitive at that point. It's just boring. Okay, next. There's a lot of random memes or images or sound effects in the episode. And this is kind of what I was getting at when I said it felt like a Troc entry. The prize is Rick Astley and James appears in the episode. And Coffee Cup holds out a picture of a gorilla. And Toast has a face of a goose pasted in for one scene. I remember there being a lot more. I guess not. I can't really shit on the episode for putting in random images and memes because, to be fair, I've been doing it all over this video too. It doesn't really take itself seriously, and I guess it makes sense for the tone of the episode. Again, it just feels a bit like a camp entry. It does feel aged. I think that's the problem. It's just used really old memes and sound effects. We are not bringing the Taco Bell bong into 2025. And also, the overuse of memes just causes the episode to feel like Toffee 12. because Toffee 12 did this shit too. This is part of the reason why I brought that up in the changes bit. Burger Brawl as well. Burger Brawl pasted in a bunch of random images and memes all over the series, and Mocha 1 kind of just stole that from it. Having a picture of a gorilla in the first minute of your show immediately establishes the tone as, okay, this is just a joke show. And then this next point also isn't really a joke particularly, but the dialogue in this episode is just really mean. That comes natural when you put so much swearing in, but that doesn't mean it's not a problem or it's not annoying. There's just a lot of insults. Coffee Cup hates all her contestants. Hat says a lot of rude things to a lot of people. Sharpener's third line is shut the fuck up. Fries is an asshole to her teammates. Marble does not gaff. Just like the swearing problem, the contestants all being so mean to each other is just kind of repetitive. I know that having them banter and argue is one good thing I said about the episode. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about just the random throwaway lines where they call someone else a name. They don't really serve a purpose besides just, lol, look guys, he said something mean, no laugh. But everybody's mean, so it doesn't have that much of an impact. I think just saying rude things and expecting it to make people laugh doesn't work. It's not as in your face as swearing, but it's still prevalent. It also just kind of makes the show feel really mean-spirited for no reason. Like they don't have any reason to be this mean to each other. They just are, and it kind of sucks. If there are any other jokes I missed, it's either because they just like weren't funny, but they weren't repeated, so I didn't have an issue with them, or they actually were funny, but I don't think I should get to call myself funny. I don't think that's something I can do. In conclusion, for this entire section about the comedy, a big issue I noticed is just how repetitive it all is. The straight man gimmick is repeated throughout all of early Mocha, being pasted through all the characters and the dialogue of those characters, intending to be funny. The number of swears in this episode shows its repetition and its forced feeling, like it's just trying to push the laugh button over and over every time Fry says fuck. The memes are part of what makes the episode feel so similar to Toffee 12 and Burger Brawl, not giving it a distinction and making it seem like just another joke show. And the characters saying rude things feel like half jokes but still get crammed down your throat anyway. A lot of these jokes are just repeated over and over until they grow boring or weren't even that funny to begin with. The big problem of Mocha 1's comedy is that it sets the tone as joke show-esque by trying so hard to be funny, yet failing. That's why this episode transitions so badly compared to the rest of the series. It's too silly for episodes like Toffee 11 or Mocha 3, where it's just so much more toned down and less slapstick. It's actually kind of ironic. It fails at everything it tries to be. It tries to be a funny episode, but harshly contrasts with the others. But it also fails at being a funny episode, so it does that for nothing. It'd be like if you like cut off all your family to become a millionaire, but then you don't become a millionaire, but you still cut off your family. The problem is just that it strays too far away with the rest of the show by taking a comedy-first approach and not sticking with it. Mocha 1 shouldn't have been a comedy-first episode because I just don't think my style of writing works that way. Yet it was, and I think it shows how much I struggled with it. I've been a bit harsh on this episode today. Sure, I think it does deserve criticism, and it definitely has its flaws, but at the end of the day, you could easily just disregard it as a Burger Brawl ripoff and enjoy watching it by turning your brain off, and you would probably have an okay time. If you like gambling, go for it. My criticisms seem like they might just be a bit too serious. Why care this much about how Mocha 1 transitions poorly between episodes, or how the characters blend together, or how the comedy doesn't land? It's garbage, but it doesn't warrant a 30-minute long video on it. Well, it's because, for lack of better words, Mocha is my baby? Do I really not have a better word? Mocha holds a special place in my heart. It's been holding on for too long, actually. 5 years? And I want the show to be the best it can be. That's why I wanted to go over my old work, see where I went wrong, and try to improve from it. It's also kind of fun to just dunk on a bad episode. That's also why I did it. Mocha 1 is a bad episode. I think that's been made clear enough. It sticks out like a sore thumb in contrast to the rest of the series. Its characters are handled poorly and underbake the ones who need it most. It puts all its eggs in one basket on being funny, but it's just not. The animation is choppy. The art style is kind of ugly, I'm gonna be honest. The voice is very obviously a prepubescent teenage boy. Its pacing is way too fast. It's garbage, arguably. But it's my garbage. And I want to learn to make better garbage for you guys. And also, I made this video just because I needed some humbling. I've been having it a little too well recently.
Mocha 6 and Toffee 7, leave some rations for the rest of us. Your big head's getting too greedy.